Hey everyone, we're back here, episode 1 of chapter 3,
Oh, sorry, Mick.
with Josh here. We haven't really moved since the introduction, so I'll be honest right here. Probably everything you're going to watch in the next few episodes is just going to be us literally just pulling this out of our hat. Yeah, that we'll say out of the hat. So in this episode, we're going to talk about what soil is, and when we talk about soil, everyone talks about different types of soil, right? They're talking about, it's a sandy soil, it's a
Silty soil.
clay soil, rocky soil,
Dusty.
Yeah, it's dusty right now.
Dusty.
So Josh, I'm gonna just turn this over to you since this is your.
Because I like dirt and rocks, man.
Yeah,
I like dirt and rocks. People ask what geological engineer. What does that do? I'm like, I just know about dirt and rocks, nothing else. But yeah.
I can tell you, he doesn't know anything else.
So if you're gonna start talking about soil, you better start with rocks. So everyone's familiar with rocks. There's a lot of different types of rocks. Here's a nice little piece of granite, another bigger piece. Comes in many shapes and colors and sizes. So, you want to think about what kind of rocks you use in your trail. This is a great rock when it's placed this direction. But when it's placed like this in the trail, you're going to break a spoke. Or in Mick's case, your entire tire. So, your entire wheel. But, yeah, so, you start with rocks. Good to know, rounded rock versus an angular rock. So here's a rounded rock versus an angular rock. And why that's important is, not so much if you were doing like a rock garden on your trail or, a little path like that, but as you start moving into actually using the rocks as building material, and that's all you have. So here's a bag of rounded rocks, otherwise known as pea gravel. So very commonly used for drainage, like around your house foundation, around your drains off your gutters. Everyone uses pea gravel. So then we have crushed rock. Crushed rock is angular. So these rocks have a nice shape and they're angular. They're not rounded. Not sure where to hold this, but that's all right. And they compact really well, right? And so crushed rock also is going to have a bunch of fines in it. So you can look at this bag and you see all the rocks are sitting up at the top because I've been shaking it, playing with it for a while. Not shake weighting it. That would be awkward. But, so the rocks have settled down. And then down here you can see your silt and your sand and stuff like that. So, angular crushed rock, very good compaction tool. These ones, your rounded rocks, terrible to compact. It just will move on you forever.
I think like one of the examples that I was told years ago is think of a bag of marbles. Yeah. It just flops down. And you can't stack marbles, but you can stack flat pieces, angular pieces.
So and then you can get even finer. We have a horse riding arena here, so I pulled some sand out of there. But you can see all the fines, the sand in here. It's really sand and silt in this one. But it gets really fine material. So those are your basics. The next step down would be clay. And we're going to talk a lot about clay in a further episode. But clay can be both good and bad. Mostly bad. It just has to be used right. So clay is going to be very fine, and same with silt as well. And a good way to tell if there's cohesion, so if the clay will stick together or the silt will stick together, is to get it wet and try and roll like Play-Doh and roll a little worm in it. And if it rolls good like that, it has cohesion. It'll stick together. If it doesn't, it's just going to fall apart into a powder, and then that's how you get these dust blown out corners and stuff. And when you're building in that type of soil. So those are your basic building soil materials. And so when people say, what kind of soil do you have for your trail? They include rock. Not really soil, it's rock, but rock down to silt and clay. And those are the types. What other questions did you have about these?
Well, like around here, I know one of the things that sometimes you might start digging in your trail, and how often do you come, your soil type changes?
Oh, okay. So like this, very much. So especially here, we have a very large layer of topsoil, essentially, and it can be identified as the puffy black stuff when you first start digging. And it's very light. If it's wet out, it's raining, it's probably going to turn to mud almost instantly. That's a very heavy organic topsoil. It's good for growing stuff. Not so good for building a long-lasting trail.
Why is that? Why wouldn't you want to build it out of topsoil?
It just erodes. It can't hold its moisture content, just like Mick can't hold his beer. So, just joking. Mick actually probably drink the table. But anyways, yeah, it's not a well constructed soil for construction. So when we build roads, if we're building a highway or a county road or something, all of that must be removed prior to any construction happening. That's how bad that soil is. However, you'll see where we live in western Washington, Squamish, the western rainforest, that's all we have. And there is a lot of it, and there's a lot of loamy trails. Ever you hear this word loam. Loam's not a good building material, but it sure is fun to slide in. So it's not going to last forever, but it's just not a building material.
It is definitely fun to ride in, but
yeah,
it's one of the things, like some of these trails get built, you're like, they're the funnest trail when they first open,
and then it's gone.
And then it's gone. Like we've had these trails built locally, not too far from here, and it's like, oh, it's such a fun trail, and you go there a year later, and it's just so blown out, so eroded.
Just a huge rut river down the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So topsoil is not going to hold up long term, and it is. But to each your own. You got to use what you have a lot of times. So, but removing that topsoil layer also can cause other risks. So you need to know where you're going to move that topsoil to. Are you going to stick it uphill or downhill of your trail? So just a couple little quick tidbits, because I see this a lot while riding. I see guys have raked all the topsoil off because they wanted a nice clean. Underneath is usually some good, sandy silt, silty sand, some good compacted material underneath that topsoil. But they'll rake the topsoil off like, hey, we removed it. We have a sustainable, long-lasting trail. However, they raked it uphill of it. So then first rain, all of that washes right back onto the trail. The little things like that make a big difference. So this is why I first stated, I think that was the last episode, water is your number one concern. And so when you're building your trail from A to B, always have in your mind, where is the water coming from and where is it going to? Because, I kind of think of it as each little drop of water and gravity. So you're just going to follow that path of least resistance. Sometimes you need to create the path of least resistance. And that's why I like showing materials like this, like the pea gravel. Has a ton of void space. You can see all the holes in between all these rocks. That's a great place for water to flow through. If you're using something fine grain, your silt and your clay, there's nowhere for that water to go. All these particles are so close together, there's not a lot of room for extra water. So then the water's going to build up in there and blow out your trail. So just I hope that made common sense to describe it that way.
Yeah.
I definitely get excited about this type of stuff, so yeah.
That's why I have you here, Josh.
Yeah.
All right. So in the next episode, we're going to actually take some soil and we're going to start breaking it down. So we have some sieves that are used for classification of soil. And we're going to start off with the top rock and gravel and work our way down and see what we get. I literally just stopped on the side of the road coming over here from Central Washington up on Blewett Pass area and took a coffee can's worth of soil to see just what it is. So thank you very much, and until next time.